I know you all have been waiting for this video, and you know what? It's finally here. This video is going to be a little bit different than a traditional frame rate or console library, because these games aren't meant for an English-speaking yank like me. This is a guide video to which of these exclusives are worth your time. These games will not only be ranked on a traditional console library scale, from undecided to excellent, but will also be rated out of 5 on how easy they are to grasp as someone who doesn't speak Japanese. A game with all English or no text at all would get a 5, and something that needs a lot of research to understand, or basically all text, would get a 1. Keep in mind there are going to be a whole bunch of undecided games in the mix, but the purpose of this video is to show off all the games and to serve as a good guide for the average fan of the Pocket Color. A handful of games that were released in Europe and America had different versions in Japan, and those obviously won't be included, because you can just play the localized versions. Surprisingly, the community has made some fan translations for a handful of games. I'll be reviewing said games based off their community fan translations. Also, take everything with a grain of salt. All the games I featured here might be easier or harder for you to play on your own. My thoughts on these games might differ from yours, and I might get a few things wrong. After all, these games weren't made for English speakers, so there are some things bound to be lost in translation. I don't have anything else to say past this. You've seen the first video, so get ready for the main event. Every Neo Geo Pocket Color Japanese exclusive title. Big Bang Pro Wrestling. I'm not a wrestling guy, so I know absolutely nothing about how it works or whatever, so take this one with another grain of salt. It's a pretty cool wrestling game on the Pocket Color, hidden in a sea of standard fighting games. And it's probably one of the most graphically impressive games on the handheld. The fighters are super detailed and each gets their own little intro, which is pretty cool. But gameplay-wise, this game feels kinda clunky. Maybe that's just the case with all wrestling games, but it felt like I had little to no control over my character, and I had no idea how to pull off all these cool moves my opponent was throwing at me. I mean, come on, there are only 2 buttons. Why can't I do this? So I kept having my ass handed to me. It was kinda fun sometimes seeing all the moves these characters can do, and with practice, I know this game can get a lot better, and I would like to get into it. Playability-wise, 5 out of 5. This game is in all English and feels like it was meant for a world release. Here's the thing. It was. There exists a prototype of a localized version of this game called Wrestling Madness. Overall, Big Bang Pro Wrestling is a solid game that can take some time to get used to. Bikurumin 2000 Viva Pocket Festiva. This title is pretty interesting. It was made to link up to a corresponding Dreamcast game of the same name. The Neo Geo Pocket Color received a link cable for the Dreamcast, not too different from the GBA link cable for the GameCube. Only about a handful of games supported it, and this is one of them. I also heard that this game was based off of a Japanese snack food? Don't know how that ties into this. It's basically just a mini-game collection, but it has a lot of text, which sucks. This is a very unique game on the console genre-wise, but the games here are very simple. I think this game was targeted for younger children. With enough patience, I bet you could figure out what to do and scoot by. It's not really anything too special or worth seeking out. Playability-wise is a 2 out of 5 because it's not entirely text, and it didn't take anything to figure out how to get into a game and play it. The games aren't that great to come back to, and the language barrier can be a problem. Cool Cool Jam. This game also goes along with the Dreamcast title, called Cool Cool Tune. This is a rhythm game, and the only one on the console. Unfortunately, it's an RPG. Just my luck. There was a fan translation, but the guy who made it basically gave up before he even started. What a shame, because this game seems really cool. There is a practice mode where you can play some random songs, and there's a whole bunch of instruments simulated, and some of them require you to even flip the system around. You can play this mode, and it's an alright rhythm game experience on the Pocket Color. There are a few songs to choose from, and the instrument mechanic is pretty interesting. But yeah, without knowing Japanese, you're missing out on 90% of the game. I'd say it's still worth a try. The visuals are pretty interesting, and there's some sort of multiplayer mode that requires the system to be passed around. I really wish I could play the main game, as this is just the side mode, so I'd say 2 out of 5. But all things considered, this game is probably better than I sell it. Wait, what's this? Did you know that the Neo Geo Pocket Color received demo carts? Yeah, playable demos on disc are a dime a dozen, but cartridges? Cool Cool Jam was supposed to be localized, and a demo in English made it out there. Still can't judge a game based on a demo, but a neat fact nonetheless. Delta Warp. This game is pretty rad. It's a puzzle game, and as discussed in the previous video, The NGPC has some killer puzzle games. This game is an original here, and it's such a shame how overlooked it is. Everything is a triangle, and you have to clear triangles by rolling over them with the right color. Every time you move the joystick, your color flips, but with the face buttons, you can spin around without changing colors. There's a lot of strategy to the game, and the fast pace and short levels makes it feel really arcadey. When making this video, I found that I played this game the most, because after getting the required footage, I couldn't stop playing it for another 30 minutes. It's that fun. The game can get a little complicated, but there is a full tutorial explaining everything, in English. Also probably the coolest feature, Delta Warp has a fully fleshed out level editor with a ton of features. This game might be one of my new favorites on the system. It's just so fun and addicting. I don't know guys, is it the best puzzle game? I really do like Magical Drop Pocket, but that was an arcade port. The puzzle links are good, but is Delta Warp better? You know what? It is. Delta Warp is the best game on the system, and if you have any interest in playing some Pocket Color, play Delta Warp. I have confidence in saying that this is the most overlooked game in the library, and you don't need to know a lick of Japanese. 5 out of 5. Man, I could go on and on about how much I like this game. Densetsu no Ogre Battle Gaiden Zenobio no Uji. Well, that was a mouthful. Have you ever heard of Ogre Battle? It's not super well known here. There are only 5 games released in the series, and one of them being this one. There's a fan translation in the works, but it's not complete yet. This might be the best RPG on the system, but I don't know for sure. Densha de Go 2. This is a super popular train simulator series in Japan, so how would it even translate to a handheld? If you've seen the rigs made for this game, surely it'd be impossible, right? Well, they pulled it off kinda. This isn't my type of game, but I gotta hand it to them. The graphics are incredible. This is the best looking game on the handheld by far. Just look at it. Isn't this nuts? Like Flight Simulator, all you do is control a vehicle, but since this was an arcade game, different point values are awarded depending on how well you conduct the train. It can be very challenging at first, but in Japan they are hooked on these games, so it must be pretty fun for the majority of people. The Japanese text covering the screen is intimidating, but if you look up some gameplay on the internet, you can figure out what to do. This game is one of few games on the handheld to be a whopping 4 megabytes! That means, aside from the nice graphics, there sure is a lot of content here. And since this game takes a lot of practice, I'm sure you'll be here for a while. So playability-wise, it's a 4 out of 5 since just a little research has to be done. Admittedly, I'm probably the worst Densha de Go player you will ever see, but I can't deny the quality of this game. Dokodemo Mahjong. Like my pal Frame, I also can't play Mahjong. Ganbare Neo Poke-kun. This is probably the most unique game on the console. It defies genre. This game is a parody of the history of gaming, starring this little guy. At first, it's kinda confusing, like you just press a bunch of buttons and random stuff happens, like this naked guy who breaks into your house or the mysterious hand under the door. So some research is involved. Some dude 20 years ago wrote a game FAQ that you can check out. This game is one of only a few to utilize the CR2032 battery controlling the Pocket Color's clock. It's like a Tamagotchi game. To actually play a game, you have to make this guy in a happy enough mood for him to make one himself. I thought it was pretty funny, although maybe a design flaw? This means that this game takes a long period of time to see the end when Neo Poke-kun has made all the games for you. I'm gonna keep this game on my flashcard as coming back to play it from time to time is the best way to unlock mini-games. Within an emulator, I haven't been able to test the clock function too well, so I'm pretty sure this game will work better on real hardware. 3 out of 5 because, as I mentioned earlier, it's really helpful to have a guide, and there is some text here about the games that you miss out on. Otherwise, this game is really fun and good to have around. Infinity Cure is a visual novel. Bio Motor Unitron 2. There's a Japanese title to this game. I'm not pronouncing it. Remember Bio Motor Unitron from the first episode? Well, in Japan, it got a sequel. Now, this one has also been translated, and it isn't complete. But from the context of the series and the fact that I played the first one, and what I've read online, I think it's fair to say that this game is more the same. The console library series doesn't go in depth with an RPG story, and since this game's story isn't translated yet, I can't recommend this game. 1 out of 5 because you can battle, but like, why would you do that if the main point is the story? So yeah, this game is like the last one. It's alright. The King of Fighters, Battle Paradise. Sweet, there's an exclusive King of Fighters game we missed out on. Oh, it's a Mario Party knockoff. With more text than was ever needed. So you could technically play this one if you just mindlessly rolled the dice and hoped you landed on a minigame space. So, yeah, this is a 1 out of 5. Otherwise, there is no point in playing this. Kind of funny how KOF received a Mario Party clone on a handheld. This is an interesting piece in King of Fighters history, and it's a shame I can't play it. If it wasn't English, I'd only assume it would be somewhere around a good, but I have no way of knowing. Koi Koi Mahjong. Guess who can't play Mahjong? Melon Chan's Growth Diary. You'd expect this game to be the creepiest game ever, right? Yes, right. You are correct. Indeed. So you know Tamagotchi? Replace it with a little anime girl called Melon Chan. Okay. Yeah, if you've ever played Tamagotchi on the Game Boy, this is the same game, so there isn't much depth aside from watching your little girl grow and doing small mini-games. There is a lot of text, so it will take some time to get familiar with everything it has to offer. And what it does have to offer isn't much. Feed the girl, play games, clean, tuck her into bed. About a 2 out of 5 playability-wise, since a lot of text means you'll have to figure everything out. But the game is simple to understand. And if this game is your thing, I'm sure you're watching my videos for the wrong reason, and I'd suggest you to leave. You take care of a little girl called a Melon Chan. What do you even think happens next? Memories Off, Pure, is another visual novel. Isn't that wonderful? Mezase Kanji Ou. This isn't even a game, it's a study tool for learning kanji. The thing is, I can't study kanji if I don't know any in the first place. Which parent asked for the Neo Geo Pocket Color to be a viable teaching tool, or which guy at SNK said, yes, this will save the console? A tool to help people understand the language they already speak. Mizuki Shigeru no Youkai Shashinkan. This is an RPG for the system. And what do you know? It has a translation. He only did the menu. Imagine releasing a translation patch after the first menu and you give up. Wow, I was excited because yokai are pretty neat, and it looks like a Pokemon knockoff. Oh well. Neo Derby Champ Diosu. When looking for imports, I will always see a whole bunch of racing games for dirt cheap, especially Derby Stallions. Retro stores will pay you to get rid of all 30 of their Derby Stallion 2s. Anyways, this game is a horse racing simulator, and I gotta know Japanese to understand it. I got nothing. Really though, are you missing out on much? Nige-ron-pa. This game is an RPG with a full translation. It's very anime-inspired and doesn't feel too out of place from your typical NES RPG game. Of course, this game has to start up by having the main character wake up from a dream. Funyun! The translation itself isn't too terrible. Honestly, its bad grammar in some spots makes it feel like it could have been official in a way. It follows the humans and monsters trope, and you'll want to get as many people in your party as possible. If you're an RPG guy, you can't go wrong with this game, and it feels right at home on the console. It isn't the best RPG, but there aren't too many RPGs on the system to begin with, so it deserves some credit for being translated. The Pachislot Azure Kingdom Pocket Series. So in Japan, they have these versions of slot machines called Pachislots. Unlike the typical machine, you have control over the 3 reels. So unlike a Vegas slot being 100% luck, these are 97% luck. Pachislot is super popular, and wherever you go in Japan, a Parlor is only 3 steps away. There are 8 Pachislot games on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Remember my Neo Casino series rant from the last episode? I really should have known that these games existed. So with all 8 of these Pachislots, plus the 5 games from the last video, and the game up next, there are 15 casino carts on the Pocket Color. Just, wow. Nearly 20% of the library are these damn casino games. Well, these games are made by the company that bought SNK, Azure, and seem to be ports of real-life slot machines. So yeah, in order for this video to not be boring and repetitive, I'm gonna clump all 8 games right here, starting off with Azteca. So in these ports, there's a whole bunch of options that I can't read. Azteca features a seaweed cactus, sombrero with hair, your local Indonesian rug, and the world's most painful taco. Decashel 2 is baseball themed. Del Sol 2. This is yet again themed after Mexican culture. E-Cup. This one is golf themed, but it uses standard symbols, except this guy here. He looks pretty pissed. Hanabi was the first game in this series, and is the most bare bones. I think it's based off a Japanese festival or something? Hanabi brings Hanabi up to date with the other entries in the series. Porcano 2. Yeah, I can't really tell what this is supposed to be. Finally, Ward of Lights. This one is monster themed. Overall, the Pachislot series really isn't that special. 1 out of 5 playability because you can't read any of these options. So, on a blind playthrough, spam A and it's off to the slots. The reality is, we don't need this many! Pachinko, Hisou, Guide, Pocket, Parlor. Ever heard of Pachinko? Launch the balls and hope for the best as they fall through the pegs. Judging by the title, I think this game also serves as a guide on how to win at Pachinko, which is kinda cool. But the thing is with Pachinko, you pretty much just sit there and watch. There are a lot of menus with text here, so it's about a 1 out of 5. Plus, there seems to be a story mode? Why would there be a story mode in a Pachinko game? Party mail. It's time for a mail party. What the hell is this game? Okay, you start out by answering a novel's worth of questions in Japanese, then you pick a thing, and after that, a bunch of cards show up, and you can select them. 5 out of 5, excellent. Pocket Love If. Say it with me. Visual novel.
Couple.
Full Jet's a dating sim. Prize game PPAA01 Pusher Program. Here's a super interesting one. Well, it's not a game, but a neat piece of trivia. So you know Azure? Besides making 10,000 Pachinko games, some of their real-life prize machines came with Neo Geo Pocket colors that could adjust the settings of the game without having to open it up. Of course, without a machine, these do absolutely nothing, but a neat piece of trivia nonetheless. Rockman Battle and Fighters. Oh boy, a Mega Man game. This ought to spice things up a bit. There was some Japanese text in this game that wasn't too hard to get around, but luckily, there was a mostly complete fan translation. This game contains ports of both Rockman the Power Battle and Rockman the Power Fighters, and this game feels as high quality as SNK's Neo Geo ports to the handheld. The games are essentially Mega Man boss rushes, resuited to fit the arcade. Each game is represented very well and has a lot of content. The campaigns here are challenging and fun to complete. I'm not super familiar with Mega Man. That's a euphemism for I suck at this game, but from what I've played of the main games and the arcade originals, this is a solid port and a good game to begin with. It would have been cool if there was an actual Mega Man game on the console to compare with the Metal Slugs, but this game is super fun and a great time. 4 out of 5 because of the translation, but don't let that deter you from giving this game a try. It's a really fun time. Shougi no Tatsujin. It's Shougi. Hey, I didn't finish. It's Shougi, and I can actually play this game, believe it or not. Very poorly, though. Shougi is like a different version of chess, and is very popular in Japan. I will say chess is a better game, but Shougi is still a fun time. You do have to learn what the different pieces do, and that's kind of a challenge at first. There are a bunch of options here, all in Japanese, but the old mash A trick through the menus will get you into a game. Because of this, I'd say it's a 3 out of 5, because unless you figure out what everything does, you're missing out on a lot of content. If you like Shougi, you can have it on the Pocket Color, which is kinda neat. SNK vs. Capcom Card Fighters 2 Expand Edition. Similar to Bio Motor Unitron, SNK vs. Capcom Card Fighters Clash received a sequel only in Japan. This was the last game on the system, and there aren't 2 different versions. It's just this one, and it allows you to pick from both Capcom or SNK decks from the start. Over time since the last video, I've grown to like the Card Fighters games. The games play like your typical RPG battles and can get pretty long. It's fun seeing how all these characters are represented and how many you can name. This game is essentially more of Card Fighters Clash 1. More cards are here and the presentation is absolutely stunning. These are some of the prettiest sprites and backgrounds on the system. The amount of details and colors are just superb. The music from the last game wasn't anything too special, but here it's actually pretty good. Like I've said earlier, I've grown to like the main focus of the game, the gameplay. It's just fun and engaging to get into battles in this title. This game made me reconsider Card Fighters Clash and pushed it up to a better rating. Sorike, Hanafuda Douju. Hanafuda is a card game, and I don't know how to play it, and I doubt you do too. Super Real Mahjong, Premium Collection. Guess who's back? It's Mahjong! So that was every Neo Geo Pocket import. Quite the interesting bunch if I do say so myself. There's some gems in there that we really should have got here in the US, stuff like Delta Warp and Mega Man. I like the quirkier imports too, and I recommend those as well. I think Ganbare Neo Poke-kun is an experience to be had. Japanese games are really something else. Well, there are a whole bunch of undecideds, and I should probably learn how to play Mahjong someday. It sure is interesting diving into the lesser-known world of gaming and seeing what it has to offer. I'd tried to interpret these games to the best of my ability, and I'm sure I might have got something wrong, so let me know in the comments. Introducing the Amiiben Discord. Click the link in the description to join today. Come chill with me and fellow Amiiben fans alike. As 5,000 subscribers approaches sooner and sooner, I'm planning on a special commemorative video for the channel that you can be a part of. All info on this will be in the Discord server. Also, I opened up a P.O. box. If you have any of these, please send them as soon as possible. Help a brother out.